Welcome back. So now I'm gonna go and paint those guys, or several of those that I assembled in the last video. And as you can see, they are already primed. That is basically just put some coat onto the plastic to make the following coat stick better. Usually this whatever type of paint that is, like the Chaos Black that I used, gives a very good foundation. And then if you would try to use a bare plastic like here with the water-based acrylics, that would probably not be very good. So second thing is you can already give them the direction where you want to go. So you can choose the appropriate color that your main color will be anyway, or something into that direction. So these are going to be the Raven Guard guys here, the black ones. They are going to be black. So of course I do. If you are, for example, playing or painting the Ultramarines, there is an appropriate paint available. I think McCrack Blue or something is available as in a spray can. Same with Death Guard Green, if you are going to paint Death Guard, or at least green figures. And I just make them silver. Same Death Guard, but I thought there's so much armor and all sorts of metal parts on them, it's easier to just paint them or spray them in lead belcher, I think. Have them in silver already, and then add the rest. Paint the panels here, like on the armor, in green. And yeah, all the other details need to be painted in whatever color anyway, so at least you already gave them a direction. You have some sort of base to work on. As for the other stuff that you might want to have is a wet palette, if you work with water-based colors, that is. I think you can buy those somewhere, but the packaging of the Lieutenant is a very good start. Then I have some kitchen towel that I've folded up like for a couple of times. Just put it inside, pour a little bit of water in it. It should be wet, not floating or be like full. You don't want to have fish in there. It's good enough. And then you take a piece of this baking or whatever kitchen paper, this way or maybe this way, anyway, put that inside. And that's it. Too much light here. So like this. And it should be wet underneath. The kitchen paper should be wet. No water on top of it. And then you can feel that after a while it feels like some moisture, and otherwise you can always add a little bit more water. And that would keep your water-based paint wet and usable for quite a long time. Of course you can buy one, but this works. Or if you have plastic thing, whatever kind of plastic container with a lid, you can even close that and the paint would even be usable for a lot longer. So that would be that. Other thing that I love to use for mixing paint are these very professional paint mixing thingies. I think this one is made by, I cannot read that, but Coca-Cola and other companies are producing those for you. So it's very useful to have. Here we go. I use this very professional wet palette with thin down paint, and I will try to do 3 different ways to paint those guys here. I have no idea how to do that properly on camera. That's why I make videos. So this guy here gets just the basic coat here for the simple reason that even if this is dark gray, I think it's German gray, even if it was black, you would still want to paint over the primer, because the texture of the paint and the shine is very different from one black to another. So even if you would just start with black on the black primer, you would just go over that very thin with the water-based color if you use Citadel paints or something like Abaddon Black, stuff like that. Just to be on the safe side and have the same properties when it comes to how the surface looks like and how it does reflect. So something like this. The philosophical question here is, of course, how nice and well do you want to paint those? And then there's always like tabletop standard, the expression that nobody really can explain. If you Google that or something, some people would say at least 3 different colors, which is kind of too little, I would think. I mean, I can paint all these guys here black and all the guns in silver or something, and maybe some trim in gold. But I think that is a little bit it's more like 3 colors, 3 different colors plus, where you have the basics like black and white because you want to brighten up or darken things. And of course there are some things that actually just needed to be painted in black, boots or whatever, and a skin tone, because like this guy here would need a skin tone. And if you have that, and then you add 3 different colors, like 1 for the power armor, 1 for the trim, and 1 for the weaponry, that might work. But basically I would think that tabletop standard is whatever you think you want to do, whatever you want to show up with and not embarrass yourself. And I think that will change over time. Like most people that are doing that for longer had kind of simple or even terrible models like myself in the beginning, and then you learn something, you improve, because as always, the more you do things and try out things, the more you learn. And then at some point I showed up with, or at least less terrible models, you know. And I think there is a definition on the homepage of Wargaming, which simply said different things should be painted differently, like different materials. So, the power armor, the gun, skin tones and stuff like that. Again, so you would need several different colors for that. And it should have a base with something on it, which I don't have yet. It should be completely based, and it should there should be at least some basic shading and highlighting, which is usually a wash for the shading part, and some edge highlighting, because that's what Games Workshop is kind of famous for. If you look at box art and things, all the little edges and stuff get a little line for, yeah, showing the highlights on them. I think that makes sense. I mean, it depends again on how much work you want to invest in your models, but yeah, painting them in a base coat, painting a different type of color for on weapons, pick out some details, like here we have a lot of those, the pistol holster, they have purity seals on the models, and there's grenades, pouches for ammunition, yada yada yada. If you would paint some of those differently, and then, which we will do later, give them a wash for shading, that should go a long way. So these are the Raven Guard, the gun team, if you will. Still a little bit undecided about the Hellblasters. I want to have those in green. So, German grey, very German grey, base coated in German grey. So, and I want to prepare the next guy here in the black one for some stippling, and I will start here with terrible dark brown, and that needs to go on the power armor. So, I mean, it's of course very, very messy here, but it doesn't have to go on the rubber parts or the gun or something. So, I hope it is visible on camera. Maybe I should move the light a little bit. So this should be better. I'm not sure if that is visible on camera, but you should see that the black is shining through immediately, because it is very thin. It doesn't cover all the primer immediately, which is pretty much what I wanted it to be. So, and this one is the highlighted guy. I will paint that, but it could be done in stippling just as well. So I just make that blue because it looks better on camera and it looks better in general, and I'm sick and tired of black. All the Raven Guards, all the time just black, black, black. No, I really like the Raven Guards, but painting black is a little bit tricky. I think it is at least easier for me to get some nice result with any kind of color, because black is invisible and there is no light black or dark black. There is a light blue and a dark blue. So with black it's always just gray, and that's even more boring. So yeah, I think it's a little bit difficult to get good results on black. Still struggling a little bit with that, but that's why I'm here making videos about struggling with black. So for black armor and things, you always just work with the reflection, the stuff that is, well, not black. If you look at box art or just any kind of images, like for Raven Guard or black power armor or something, you see that everything you see is, well, not black. If you look at it, I mean, of course it reads like black armor, but it is actually just gray. Lots of different grays, and depending on how shiny that is, that can be very, very light gray. So this looks very, very messy, but that's okay. And again, I think it is very visible now that the paint does not cover anything, which is fine, because we do it again. You can see that it looks very, very dirty, very incomplete, and it is very thin. And that's exactly how it should be. So here we see the effect. That can be very much more refined, actually. Where the white primer was, or the gray, and the black. And that is still visible very much because it's a very thin coat. And that way we should keep the light and shadow already where they were original, because of the different primers. So that is the whole idea of giving that a highlight from above, this zenithal highlight. And I've seen people doing that in scale models, where they have, it's actually called the black and white technique, where the entire model was painted in black, white, and some grays in between, with all the shadows, all the highlights, all the little details picked out, without any kind of real color, actually. And only when everything was mapped out and painted already in black and white, only then someone would just use what I do here. Very thin color, be that, I don't know, some camouflage thing or whatever on a tank. And just go over that very, very thinly, so you would keep all your shadows and highlights, and just add, well, the hue of the color to that. But then you don't have to bother about picking out any details like 3 times. You just do that once in a very stark black and white contrast, and that's it. It's probably that way somebody invented the contrast paint. It looks really colorful on the camera. It's not as bright blue in real life. So, but that was the 2 ways to just paint in a common sense over the entire thing. That was Lieutenant White. So, and this one here is the Raging Chocolate, the angry brown guy with that base coat. And what I do with that guy, I'm not sure if my paint is now too thin, because I just use the same, what's that called, Canto Blue. Yeah, that's way too thin. Yeah, but the idea is to kind of just stab the model just like that. Don't wipe or anything, just stipple that on. So this one is the stipple technique. Gonna do that one in blue as well. Do you see? It's already one layer on it, so it is something visible, but the idea is to just have this kind of stabbing motion here and leave some stuff out, like let the brown shine through at certain points, and if possible even create some texture here with that, at least some visual texture. And the whole idea is actually the same, like build up the paint gradually, leave some things out, and then we will go to brighten up things in exactly the same way. It's a little bit tricky to do that and film that at the same time because I'm stupid, but apart from that, that should make a similar result to the painted Lieutenant White, who is now turning into Lieutenant Blue actually. But we should have more brown left towards the edges of panels and in the darker corners, like on the underside of the armor, things like that. That looks terrible, which is to be expected. And here's the other guy, Meep Meep. So coming back to black, which is sort of black now because it's dark gray. I'm doing the same, the stippling, but this time I'm using black. I hope I do. And here is where we need black anyway, because that is this black rubber stuff. And just to create some dark shadows, and that usually looks very messy. I will probably have to go over that again with the German gray. So here we have the three musketeers, Mr. White, Mr. Black, and Mr. Chocolate. On camera again, Mr. Chocolate looks very, very blue, and he's not. Not at all. He has some dirty blue spots. And that's it. Go away. Or even if we darken that. Yeah, that looks very, very poppy, and it's not. It's very much brown with some black on it. Confusing, right? That is when you have two suns and not a single highlight, then you get two. Speaking of, this way you can again check where you want to place the highlights. This is the next step here. I use some dark silver tone. Iron Warriors is that, I think, for the huge eagle. Because, yeah, something has to be on the model. Something has to stick out. Cannot be all just black, because boring. And I was interrupted by my battery. So great stuff. Anyway, this is a dark silver I was talking about, and I think that's good enough for the Raven Guard, at least for the black guys here. Yeah, they shouldn't be too blingy, but else they would probably be too boring. So I put some of this dark silver on the weapons. Most of them are still black. This guy here would get some purity seals anyway on this gun. Yeah, I think that's good enough. And if you don't like that, there are of course lots of different silver tones or even gold, and since this here is an officer, I will probably do just that. Take some not so bright and shiny gold, and it's always the same. I would take something that is not so super bright and shiny and just go over that very, very lightly, and just so as it should look like it is a little bit worn off or chipped off, and not as super bright as you would have on your parade uniform or something. But since it is an officer, I think we can have a little bit gold on that guy. Else, if you want to have that, again, same with the silver, there are of course gold paints that give you a lot more of this red yellowish shine, but I don't want that on these guys here, at least not on the Raven Guard, and I will try it the same on the blue model. I'm not sure how that looks. Try that out. Maybe this one would get a stronger tone or a darker wash, something to make that more reddish brownish. And it gives a nice contrast with the blue. Light, of course I did. Yeah, maybe some cleaning up later, but that should do it for now. And it's a thin layer as with the other paint as well. So it's just one thinned down layer of paint, and I will do that around the shoulder armor as well, but only on this guy here, because the Raven Guard would probably have black and one company color and not so much gold. Getting closer. So I forgot what I did, but I think this guy here has actually the darkest is Liberator gold, and this one is a little thinner, a little more like bleached out gold. I think they're both pretty nice. Let's count. We have blue, gold, silver and black. This one doesn't have blue, but it's already 4 colors. And I think we have to do something here on the rear with all those little pouches and stuff, so at least brown in addition. And then of course there are the laurels here, and lots of decorations here, and the handle and the pommel of the sword and so forth. So 3 colors sounds insufficient, but I will at least add some dark brown for all the pouches throughout the entire team here, and then we might just leave it like that, because on the other hand, yeah, you can just paint it so much whatever tabletop standard is, but I think you can just use the models now for playing and add something when you're in the mood for painting again. It's nothing wrong to use this guy here, and after you played a couple of games and think, oh, I need a nice quiet evening, and then you paint the laurels and the lenses here and the eyes should be there and stuff like that. So it's never too late to add some details. Yeah, I can almost hear people asking, yeah, but what is about washes? You didn't use washes. Yeah, I might. I did on this guy here. As you can see, that leads to, this is almost no blue left there. And I had to repaint the highlights, obviously, here. Same here. And on the helmet it looks still, on camera at least, it looks much better than in real life. So that was a complete oil wash over the entire model. Yeah, if you think you want to do that. But I think washes, I use them usually just as paint, just with different properties, and just go over something where I think I want to have a wash, and not, as you see on one sometimes, that people just pour the wash over the entire model and then just clean it up afterwards and just basically do the same paint job twice. So for example here, this looks very good, but on the other models that I just painted, I would probably leave a little bit more time for this one here to dry and then put a wash only on the eagle, for example, because I think that can have something like a brown, reddish brown wash. Yeah, I think that's enough. That should just dull the whole thing a little bit down and put some accent on the pattern, and that's good enough. And maybe on this guy here too. Yeah, that should do it. Just wanted to say in between that the dark metal tone is really nice in combination with the gray, and I thought I made those, you know, around the pauldrons here as a base, and then I will have some of the color, the company color, just stippled on it, so to make it look worn out. And by now I added a little bit of brown here for the pouches and the pistol holster, and yeah, a little purity seal here. So I think I would just put something on the bases, like some ready mix stuff, because I have so much lying around of that, or just, you know, glue a few rocks on there and paint that, and that's it. I would leave it there. Yeah, of course, you can paint and paint and paint and continue to do that, but now we have what was required, right? We have a couple of different colors, differently painted materials like metals, skin, leather, whatever. All has different colors. We have lights and shadows. what we don't have and what everybody is painting all the time is this edge highlighting. I didn't do much of that, but that's because I don't like that. So yeah, I think they're good enough for playing a game. And I think I said it before, you can just continue painting or play a couple of games and think, hey, that's really great, I want to have a really cool army, I want to improve those models. No problem, you can just continue painting after each and every game, basically. There might be a little bit of an issue if you scratch them too much, if they get damaged while you play with them or something like that. Okay, then you have to fix that. But apart from that, there is no limit on continuing. But I really want to look into the new rules and get some models on the table, so I would just leave it here.